All right. We are so excited. I am so excited, you all. It's been a minute since we have done an AM live, and especially y'all know me because I'm all about scheduling. So if it is someone that we are coming off schedule with, you know it's got to be someone that is significant. So I have been following this beautiful lady for the past, couple of weeks, and just have been really impressed because she is young, a sister. She's vibrant and she is bringing it in regards to conversations that are pressing between not only locally but also the diaspora. So I'm just pleased today to welcome Africa United for Unite Force and introducing her to Glow Nation. If you have not, please make sure you visit her channel. Please make sure you subscribe and get ready because this is going to be this is going to be an incredible and epic show. So without further ado, I'm going to let her introduce herself and then we're going to chop it up sister style. One moment and we're going to see what's going on with Africa Unite Force.
Thank you so much, Sister Courtney, for inviting me to your platform. I'm so thrilled to be here. You're such an amazing sister, and I just started following your channel as well, and you're doing an amazing job, and that is very important. I mean, I'm a Nigerian, first of all, an African, right? Um, yeah, who happens to be a Nigerian. Yeah, my channel is called the African United Force. I'm all about bridging the gap between continental Africans and diaspora Africans, and I'm all about talk. I talk about collective issues that we are having and how we can actually make plans for a future generation that has to do with our children. I'm very, very passionate about that. And my channel pretty much hold us accountable because I have observed in the Black community globally that accountability is what is actually lacking in our community. But I think when we start holding ourselves accountable, I believe that we can actually make the change that we are actually, looking for. And my channel is pretty much about healing as well, because I do believe that healing comes from self and also from the food that we eat. um, yeah, so I mean, my channel is pretty much a lot, but most especially is for us, the 19, and actually collectively working together. So thank you so much, Courtney, for having me once again. I truly appreciate. I truly appreciate it. And hi to the viewers. And you all are amazing people, obviously. So thank you so much, for having me on your platform. I'm thrilled to be here.
Just so beautiful. Sis, I wanted to know what got you in to what interested you in starting your own channel? What motivated?
Okay. I I do speak Russian, right? And during the pandemic, so when I saw a video that was, that two Russian ladies, they went to Ghana and they went straight to the slum and they were making these videos. So of course they were speaking Russian, so I understood everything they were talking about. It's like history is repeating itself, which I do believe that history don't repeat itself, but ignorant people repeat history. So they were saying a lot of trashiest things about, Ghana and Africa in particular, like, that this is what Africa is all about. Look at how they are living. They live on the slum, and things like that. That is full of diseases and things like pretty much encouraging that people not to come this way, not to come to Africa and things like that. So the picture and the image and the narrative they were putting out there didn't sit well with me. And I'm like, I mean, for decades, mainstream media have been doing the same. And now, coming from Russia, and they're doing, exactly the same thing. And these people, they have lots of followers. I'm talking about millions of people who are following them. So now seeing that, that didn't sit well with me. So I'm not a media person. I didn't even know how to edit video. I didn't know how to do anything on YouTube. So that motivated me to start to learn how to do these things. I started on maybe Facebook. I did one or two videos to see how people can react to that, because I'm nervous when it comes to doing when it comes to the media. I'm very shy, so a lot of people don't believe that, but but yeah. So I started talking about issues because I do um, research about a lot of things, and I started researching the media, particularly mainstream media, about our issues and how they've portrayed us for a long time, which is absolutely negative. And that's pretty much our fault because we allowed it, and we give them the should I say, the right to narrate our stories, the right to tell the world about us, the right, it's just pretty much like dummies, right? We are dummies, we have no mouth, we can speak for ourselves, so they speak on our behalf. So I think that that narrative needs to change, and the only way that can change is when we stand up and start speaking up for ourselves, and not allowing other people to define us based on their perspective and based on their narrative. But we can actually start telling our stories and define who we truly are as a people globally. So that was what motivated me. So then I started, my YouTube channel. The first ever video I did was a song that I wrote for all Black people, right? Just as a means of encouragement, right? And it was really nice. And then I started seeing a lot of things that needs to be addressed, that we really need to talk about. Yeah. So that was what actually really motivated me. Thank you.
You have a question there. Blind guy, his wife, their life. This is a sister, and she would like to know how many languages do you speak, and have you traveled to learn them, or do you just learn them from home?
I do speak seven languages, and it was the other I asked because what's the other thing? If I've traveled to what to learn them or just at home? Okay, yeah, I
Yes.
I did travel. Currently I temporarily reside in Russia, Moscow. So yeah, so that's why I'm able to learn the language. Yeah, but yeah, yeah, I think so.
Now they also ask because Africans most Africans speak several languages, but in the US we usually only speak one. Well, I always say this actually. I speak three. I speak English, I speak shade, and I speak love. And love is the language that no matter where I go, everyone understands it. But I definitely can concur. I have two children. I have a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old. And, I've always encouraged them to learn other languages. When I was in high school, I did study Spanish and French. And so I know somewhat, but write it. I can understand, what people are saying, but I have really always found that no matter what industry I was working in or no matter what area, if something is said with the intent for you to understand it, then it's going to be received. You understand? So, but yeah, I definitely encourage my children to learn it officially so that they can be able to write it, they can be able to understand it no matter where we go into. And then also because their father has he married into a Cuban family, and so I want them to feel like they're understanding and appreciative of the culture as well. And so I always encourage them to learn as much as they can, because they want to be able to communicate with their little sister and little brother and not feel like there's a language barrier, because I understand how frustrating that can be as well. But 7 languages, that's quite impressive, sis. Tell me, was that was that something that was by your parents enforced, or was that just something that has always been an interest, as the sister stated that in certain societies it's a norm to just know that you're going to be learning more than one language? What was the situation for you?
I mean, for me, is nobody forced me because I think that coming from an African background, we as a Nigerian, right? So we have about more than 500 plus something languages, right? So we are I'm already used to learning languages, right? So when it comes to Nigeria, we have three major languages in Nigeria that has to do with the Hausa, Yoruba, and the Igbo. So I know to an extent some of the phrases when it comes to these languages, right? So even if I consider myself Igbo, I still understand to a certain level certain things in Yoruba language and pretty much Hausa, so and other tribes in Nigeria. So that um, makes me to like want to learn. I do learn languages maybe a little bit faster and something I have interest. Because you don't have an option anyway. So like if you because in Russia, yeah, they speak their official language is Russian. So pretty much you don't have any choice not to learn it. But some people do. So when they come here, they just, they don't have the interest to learn the language. So hence a lot of things are really difficult for them. So people take advantage of them, a lot of things. So I believe that I just learn the language because I do believe that I don't like people taking advantage of me. So I pretty much want to do things by myself, understand the people, understand the culture, the tradition, and everything. So yeah, so that made me to be, interested in learning the language.
Now, let me ask you this, because again, everyone kind of is a family here, which is something that I welcome. What, and you can speak candidly, because like I said, we're family here. But what are some of the most pressing issues that you think is going to make it difficult for our communities and societies to build, you know, um, just seamlessly? What are some major cultural differences?
Before I talk about major cultural differences, let's understand what culture is all about and cultural differences, and then we can be able to understand if we are actually having cultural differences when it comes to the diaspora. I'm not saying it's not there; it is there, right? But I want us um, to understand certain things, so we do not attach everything to cultural difference, right? So yeah, so what is culture? Right, I've written down some points as regard this topic, right? Um, Culture is the idea, customs, right, and social behavior of a particular people or society. It could also mean or seen as the characteristics and knowledge of a particular group of people, encompassing language, religion, customs, social habit, music, and arts. Now, what is cultural differences? Cultural differences are the various beliefs, behavior, languages, right, practices, and expressions considered unique to members of a specific ethnicity, race, or national origin. You see, race is there. But regardless, because of environment and a lot of things, but while these various differences, right, can create a more vibrant office, they can also lead to more than a few problems resulting from culture clash, which would take me to what culture clash. What is it? What is culture clash? So it's a conflict arising from the interaction of people with different cultural values. So diasporas who are pretty much repatriating back to the continent, um, they tend to go with the mindset, some of them, not all, of a tourist, right? They have a tourist mindset. So some of them, they go with a tourist mindset. Pretty much when it comes to us, Black people globally, we we don't when it comes to us, we don't like to take the time to study about ourselves. We don't like to take the time to observe ourselves. We don't like to take the time to want to know more about each other. But take for instance, if diasporas, right? Now I'm talking about diaspora because I'm going to be using myself as an example, right? Obviously, I'm in Europe. So when I left Africa for Europe, Um, I researched the country that I was traveling to. I researched their culture, their food, the weather. I researched the people in a lot of things. But when I came, and then I had to make friends before I came, and I talked with people. I asked questions, so I will know what I'm expecting. So you see, also I went, the embassy. They gave us some actually they gave us some knowledge or what to expect. They gave us some, how do I put it now, free information about what the country is all about. So when I came, yeah, I wasn't too shocked about certain things because I already have my mind set up that these are the things that I will be expecting, right? Because I already have friends there. They told me everything that is happening, what I should be mindful of, the do's and don'ts. So they told me about all these things. So I pretty much came prepared. So I'm not too shocked about so many things. So when I came, yeah, one thing was the language that I had. Well, I already started learning the language a little, just the alphabet before I came. So when I came, and then I started integrating with the people. Try to make friends with them to see how so I can navigate my way around, and they can because only the locals can help you in whatever thing that you want to do. If you want to succeed, then the locals are there to help you succeed and help you get to that goal. Now, when it comes to some of our people from the diaspora who are coming back to the continent of Africa, obviously, when they are going to other countries in Europe, right, and the West, they do more research. They do more research. They are very observant. They are very conscious that they are black or whatever, right? They are very respectful when they go there to the people, right? Because they tend to have this thing that I know they want to prove themselves, or they want, like, I don't know. So they tend to be more, they integrate, they tend to respect the people, the culture, their tradition and everything. They tend to be more friendlier. So when they come reverse, when they come to Africa, it's different because um, these are the set of people that have a tourist mindset, right? Coming just like a tourist. Not pretty much they're coming to stay. Even when some of them have decided to come to stay, but they still have a tourist mindset, which can be conflicting, right? Because no proper research is done, and the mindset, the expectations, and all of these things, right? Is not really put into consideration. what you should be expecting, and all of that. And some of them don't even have friends on the continent, you see. They just come like that. So that could really be very, very challenging, right? If you're having problem like, overpriced, you have challenges like, maybe at the airport you're asked to give, obviously there's corruption on the continent of Africa. So these are things that you should already have in mind. You should know that certain of these things are in place. So I mean, it becomes a big deal, because is on the continent, and it has to do with people who looks like them. So when black people can be conscious the way they travel to Europe and the West and treat those certain people with respect, treat them, with should I say love and all of, I don't know, like there's a way they treat them, right? Different. They place them on a pedestal. It is different. But when they come to the continent of Africa, it's not the same. Now, if they can carry out that same attitude that they carried out on the West, on their own people, then it will change. That's why I say that when it comes to the continent, except you see it as a home or you see it as a temporary place where you just want to visit, just as a tourist, then okay, it's fine. Of course, they will do everything to make sure that you're comfortable and all of that as a tourist. So that's why you see lots of expectation. The expectations on the continent is high from them. They complain about everything and all of that. Why? Because to them is shocking. No proper research again is done, and the expectations, that they're expecting all these things to the West, Africa to look like the West, which is not a reality, or it's not a reality. So I think that could lead to cultural clash. It could lead to cultural clash, and again, the language or something like that's why I always say you must, have a friend like network with the locals. The locals can be able to help you in certain things. They help you navigate your way. They will help you, to do a lot of things and save you a lot of stress. You see, or a lot of these things. And we should try for those who are coming to stay to have the mindset to integrate. Because in the West, obviously, black people are trying to, and they've been trying for decades to integrate with these other people. So why is it that when we come to the continent of Africa, we don't want to integrate? We want to separate ourselves. On the continent where we should definitely integrate, we want to separate. In the diaspora, where we should separate ourselves, we want to integrate. So you see, we need to have that form of respect that we have for people in Europe and the West. We need to have that same form for ourselves. We need to respect ourselves, and we need to love ourselves. In loving ourselves, I'm not talking about just empty words, but our actions. We should show love through actions, and not just talking. So that's what I think, to some extent, it can cause cultural clash. And we should not demean, certain things, or try to change. You see, when we try to change people, or, then we are still, having that mindset of, you know, the people we've been around with, maybe in Europe and the West, right? So we're trying to change the circumstance, the situation. We're trying to change a lot of things because I saw this challenge that is going on what's it called now? Instagram or TikTok or something like that. TikTok challenge. Now these are okay. I'm gonna narrow it down to our people, Black Americans, right? For the purpose of this video, I'm just gonna address us as Black Americans, okay? Now, when I saw that they were actually doing a reaction video, or I don't know, a TikTok challenge, they call it challenge video about African food, specifically fufu, right? Fufu. Now they were literally,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was going to say I saw that and I just felt like that was so disrespectful. It was just really just a, incredibly um insensitive and ignorant, and the fact that this became, something to do. Like you said, we don't I've never seen people saying, hey, well, let's look at goulash because the Americanized version of goulash is not what, the Moscow Russian version of goulash is. And that might disgust people, but they're not going around making videos about that. And we don't realize that we as a culture continue to come at each other in regards to that. It's very unfortunate, very unfortunate. But I don't want to stop your train of thought. Let me go back on mute. But I definitely want to say that I did see that, and I felt it was just ridiculous. It was really ugly, really ugly.
Yeah. When I saw that, I mean, yeah, it was disrespectful. But again, I saw the ignorance in our people doing that. I believe that they don't understand history and they don't understand um, the culture behind behind that. And because that food, because food is very important, right? It's very, very important. It's what, when it comes to Africans, right? It's that thing that really binds us together. Food means a lot to Africans. Now, it is not just that food is important, but that food in particular is medicinal, right? So in the African culture or history, we didn't need no medications. So that's why I'm saying they don't understand the culture. They don't understand the history behind the African food. The food is medicine on itself. So it contains all the vitamins and everything. So the healing and all of these things is in that food. So you don't need to get sick when you're eating the right food. You don't need to get sick. We didn't need medications because our food is full of, it contains everything that we need. It's also spiritual. So you see, that is why when I saw that, it just, I was not upset. The only thing that, came is I felt compassion for our people when I saw that, because I believe that, it's ignorance. It's ignorance, and ignorance can only be replaced with knowledge. So it is better we come out and then we educate, and call it out, not to excuse the behavior, but to call it out. That's pretty much holding us accountable. That's what I'm talking about, accountability, that we need to hold ourselves accountability if we definitely needs to move, forward and achieve the goals that we want to achieve. So yeah, coming back to what was it? Did you ask me a question? So I do not, go outside. Did you ask me a question?
No, but we have a couple of people that have asked the question. Snuggles wants to know, what is your meaning of ignorance?
What is my meaning of ignorance? So ignorance can be something that you are not aware of, but you are doing it. Um, you're doing it like perhaps you didn't know that certain things, could maybe offend me as a person, right? You're ignorant about the things that the things that would offend me, but you did it without knowing, and you keep doing it until I let you know that these things will offend me and these things are no good to me. Then you will not know. You will keep doing it. Then because you're ignorant about it. So once I let you know, and I give you the knowledge about it. So that's why I said it can only be replaced with knowledge. So once I let you know, then the ignorance automatically disappears. Yeah.
Now, this is, like I said, we're family here. Um, and something that I have seen, that I've noticed over the past, I would say, especially since COVID, the past few months, is the talk when we're discussing uniting our cultures. We're talking about dating and marrying and what that looks like here as opposed to what that looks like on the continent. I personally have never visited the continent. I do plan on going this year. I'm working on organizing all of me and I have two children, getting our passports together. I look forward to visiting, and ultimately, I look forward to repatriating and moving to Africa. But you know, I would like to have some type of idea of whether, finding love ultimately abroad is something to look forward to, or would I be better off kind of, you know, trying to, or putting my best foot forward, not trying to, but putting my best foot forward with finding a significant other here and us, moving there. Because I can tell you that personally, a few months ago, I was, talking with someone about a relationship, and I mentioned to him that I wanted to ultimately, live in Africa indefinitely. And he was just, he would quite simply told me, well, I guess you're going to be just, we're going to have to be long distance because I'm not going to move to Africa. And I was like, shoot, should I just try to, meet someone from the continent? So therefore, that doesn't have to be such a sensitive topic, because personally, I definitely plan on, moving to Africa. So I don't want that to be a place of contention in a relationship, especially if I really vibe with someone. So I would definitely like to know, what are your thoughts on that? Should single ladies kind of, look, is that something that they can look forward to? Are the men, the continental men, are they a little bit more, I think, comfortable with the masculine roles, as far as being able to provide, being able to protect, and being able to promote a generational wealth and legacy? Or for the most part, do you see the same type of issues that Western women might be experiencing?
Yeah, that's that's a little bit tough question, because when it comes to relationships, it depends on it depends on the person, right? So it's not something that has to do with, yeah, it depends on the person or the place. So you can actually find love anywhere, maybe on the diaspora, in the diaspora, or on the continent of Africa. So it doesn't really matter. Maybe it just depends on what you're looking for, and the type of person that you want to, that aligns with your vision, your goals, and when I mean your vision and your goals, I'm talking about your long-term goals and vision and things like that, and who is willing to build with you, invest with you, and do pretty much, um, um, build and leave generational legacies, right? Because pretty much these are the things that you stated you want to do. So now coming to dating, or like looking for love on the continent as a diaspora lady, I think the culture, to know the culture is very important. You need to know the culture so that you know what you're expecting. You need to understand, you know, again, the culture, the tradition, and you need to understand the mindset of the person so you don't make assumptions, because a lot of or some of the diaspora women, when they go to the continent, they just have this mindset that all the continental men are very protective and all of that. So when they go, it is quite shocking that, okay, so they have this little aspect of, some of them can be controlling, because they think in a particular way, or certain things, or because of the culture, they believe that certain things should happen, should happen in a certain way. So I believe that you should look for someone whose mindset, right, and whose thinking, you know, is pretty much in accordance with yours, right? So you don't go and then, just settle for anybody, because that's not the end goal. If you can't settle for anybody, you need to look for someone that really understand the goal, that really understand, what you're doing, that, that will build with you. And so you have to learn, and again, you need to have an open mind so that you can learn about each other, right? So you don't want to, if you don't want to settle for just any kind of continental African man, perhaps you want an African man who perhaps is a little bit is exposed, well traveled, understands certain situations, so you don't have to be explaining a lot of situations and a lot of things, you know, to them. So it's important that you learn about the place you're going to and learn about the culture and the tradition, for that to happen. There are continental African men who definitely are, yeah, they are doing well, but it's for you to find and see those type of men. So it is, it is in your court.
So it seems like that's a bit of a, you're very diplomatic with your answers. Trust me, I know it when I see it. You know how to maneuver complicated questions, because basically it seems as though you're saying, without saying it, that you know just in anywhere you go, it's going to be, you're going to need to do some vetting. You're going to need to have some standards. You're going to have some goals, and you're going to have to just kind of see for yourself. It's not a situation where I can say, yeah, all of these, men from the continent are perfect for you. And it's not a situation where you can say, no, 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 definitely choose from what the men from the United States. It's anywhere we go. And I think I think that's the safe answer. That's the safe answer. Let me ask you this though, because I saw there was a thread a couple of months ago, and a lot of men were complaining that, I guess, men from Africa, they come over to get like immigration, and then they marry someone over here and they don't go back, or they come back like every 10 years. I said, well, 10 years, but they were routinely saying that these were men that were, that the women hadn't seen their husbands in a decade. That's 10 years. And it was a consistent amount of women saying that. Is that something of a usual practice, or is it just a situation of typical kind of YouTube, just capturing a small demographic, and it seems like it's happening in an abundance, in your opinion?
uh, you're talking about continental African women or men, who are traveling to the West, as immigrants, for papers or for things that they get married to diaspora women for papers and things like that, right? And then the women are complaining back home, or what? Yeah, like because you're breaking, so I couldn't get the question correctly.
Yeah, the women are complaining. The wives of some of these men are saying that they haven't seen their husbands in 10 years. One woman said she hadn't seen her husband since she had her child, and her child was now 15. And this was, you- and I'm saying, is this because of immigration, or is this just someone that is has like just moved on, so to speak? But what got stuck out to me was that it wasn't just one person here and there. There were a couple of videos, and there were multiple women that were saying, yeah, 10 years, 15 years, 8 years, 7 years. And so I just wanted to know, is that something of a consistent practice of any resort, or was it something that kind of got blown out of proportion, so to speak?
Um, we should talk about some continental African men, of course, who are traveling to the West and Europe for opportunities, of course, for a better life, and according, to what they are looking for, better life, opportunities, and things like that. And being an African could be really difficult, when you travel as an immigrant to other countries, particularly European nations and things like that, right? So it is difficult as an African, right? So, I mean, the immigration rule when it comes to Africa is really strict and all of that, right? So they look for various ways to see how. I'm not speaking on their behalf, but I have heard and I've seen situations like that. Yes, there are situations like that. That's why I've seen situation whereby the men are married back home, so they traveled to the States or wherever they travel to in Europe, So for them to be able to achieve, accomplish certain things, they get married to the native or of that place citizen, so they can be able to get their papers as an immigrant and get certain things started and a lot of things. And some of them do lie that they're not married, they don't have any woman back home, whereas they are married with kids, and things like that. So they go out for a long time. Maybe as time goes on, feelings and emotions and things like that changes. And so not that they're not still married to their wife, because they are still married, but they tend to have another family, which to them is not really. It's pretty much like someone who is married, a married man having an affair outside, right? A married man having an affair outside his marriage, right? And we have a lot of such thing in our community. So it's pretty much the same thing. So these women, they sit and they wait for the men, because on the continent of Africa, so they don't just decide, some of these women, to just move on with their life. They just sit down, and because they are married, they are married. They stick to that man wherever he goes and come back. So men get away with things like that, with issues like that, so they get away with it. So these women wait for them 10, 15 years, as they are stated. Some of them, maybe they have one or two kids, and that's all for them. So yeah, they do wait for this set of men, which I don't think it is right, for such type of behavior, right? So I do believe that maybe if they are traveling, they should travel with their wives to wherever they are going to, but or they should have a short-term plan, like I'm going for 1 or 2 years, and then, which is quite a long time though, and then maybe you will join later. But so they said it's all about, for them, it's all about money, taking care of the family. As long as he's sending money to them, to them, they feel like that's all that the relationship should be. So, but there's more to that. So, but that's why I said that diaspora women can actually teach continental African women certain things when it comes to things like this, how they can be, because they don't, because of the cultural, the cultural difference. Again, this is continental African women are actually lacking certain how do I say it, confidence. Not that they are not, they are very confident to stand up, to talk about or talk against this act and behavior, you see. And these men that are doing that, it is not a beautiful thing, yeah, to be deceiving, because obviously they are lying to the woman in the diaspora, telling them that they are single and things like that. And my advice to the diaspora women is that before you get involved with any continental African, not any continental African, anybody in particular, if as an immigrant, right, as an immigrant, so you want to make sure you do your background uh, um, check. You want to make sure you find out if they are not married back home or things like that. Are they discussing taking you to their parents back home? Are they avoiding such type of things because they would want to introduce you to their parents? They would tell you these are the ones that are not really married. They are serious. They want something to happen. So they will be telling they will be even telling you we need to go back home to see our parents. To do some sort of, to get things and take things to the next level, like doing traditional marriage or something like that. So, but if they're not, saying all of that or doing all of that, then they're most likely married back home, or they have family. So you want to avoid such type of men who avoid taking you to their family, taking you to introducing their friends and all of those things, right? They pretty much avoid all those things, but they might again play some game, because when you lie, so you want to cover it up with one lie or the other, right? So they might just have some friends and speak to them that understand, because men tend to how do I say, men tend to stand up for themselves more than women do. For women, we like, to rubbish ourselves, and we like to bring each other down. And then, so we give men access to treat us the way, we present ourselves to them. So you see, it is important that you really do some background check before you get yourself involved in any relationship that is serious. So you don't just go by empty words, you go by actions. That's why I say don't look at their words, look at their actions. Action speaks louder than words. So when they tell you all these nice and beautiful things, because those are the things you want to hear, you see. But you don't want to take the time to actually know this person. That's why you make mistake. So when you take the time, you invest the time, you listen when they talk, and then you look at their actions. So you see, then you can be able to know. It doesn't matter if it is continental African or whoever, men from men in general. So you look at their actions, and then and see if whatever thing they are saying, they're actually doing it. And then again, you really need to we need to be very careful in general as women when dealing with life partners, right? Because it's not just about just hanging out or being with someone. You want a good family structure. You want someone who will be there and build generational legacy with you, and stability, right? When it comes to the family structure and family unit, which in the West or in America, that is what has been broken. The family unit, which is what has been broken. So we need to see how we can work on that. So not all continental African, because of course there are lots of millions of continental African men who are really good, who are really that. But in general, looking for a partner, you need to do your homework and don't just up and go and say you're all in this love thing and all of this thing, because that's just feelings and emotions. That when it comes to say marriage is business. It's business. So when it comes to business, you want to get involved with someone who is done with the business, who is ready. So you don't go, I'm not saying looks is bad, but sometimes as women, we are carried away by looks, and then we just, we ignore the people, the men who are ready, capable, mentally. You might be ready, but are they ready? So that's why you have to look at it. You are a woman, there might be boys. So you might be a girl, there might be men, meaning, they are ready, they are accountable, they are responsible, and they are, ready to build. So you don't go and settle for irresponsible men, or you settle for men who are not accountable. You settle for men who are just, still boys trying to grow. So, these are the things that we need to teach the younger ones in our society, so that they will be able to understand, what to expect and what to look after when in choosing a partner. So feelings and emotions, doesn't really go a long way when it comes to long-term marriage or contract, or however it is. Yeah, that's just my take on that.
And to piggyback on that, sis, a little bit, um, I'm watching the comments as well as, listening to your responses. But to piggyback on what you're saying is that I, you know, something happens in a reverse that I feel really doesn't make sense. And this has been something that I've seen as a consistency no matter where the woman has been from. Whereas women, when we get older, as we get older, we tend to start getting a little bit more lax on our preferences and our standards. When to me, as we get older, we should become stricter on them, because we've lived, we've had these experiences. You are more sure about certain aspects. So it always kind of confuses me, or not even confuses, but surprises me of how often I hear I hear men say older women are so stuck in their ways. And I'm like, I don't know what older women they're talking about, because to me, when I was young, I was like, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was more of that when I was in my 20s. But here I am, I'm in my 40s now. I'm more so like, because I've lived, I've seen, I've become more compassionate. When I was 20, it wasn't no excuses. I was like, excuses, get deuces, goodbye, kick rocks, and go on and move. Just go, because there were options. So that did bring me back to what Simeon said, is that some people are only as faithful as their options, because I do think that has a lot to do with it. But I find that older women, I've seen older women around my age, 30s, 40s, and up, we become very like passive in regards to what type of relationships we want, what we feel like we're worthy of, what we value. And I think that if anything, we should become more, stern about these things because um, we know what could be the turn, what could be on the opposite end, and we aren't stern about them. Like, so I think that that's a very interesting dynamic, and the way that you're speaking, this is not just a dynamic that is only prevalent here in the United States. It is something that is also prevalent other places as well. So, yeah, I would say, ladies, no matter what age, you should definitely have those standards. We should have those standards. I unfortunately only one time, and I went against the grain and what I liked physically, what I liked intellectually, what I liked economically, financially. I went against the grain one time, and I don't like to say I regret it. I regret anything because I feel like I learned from all relationships. But I will say I I was most upset with myself because these were situations or red flags I saw very early on, and instead of me, just shutting it down and moving on to the next, I just kept kind of giving chance after chance after chance, and that won't happen again. But I want us to look at that more. Snuggles has this question: what does polygamy look like in Africa? As far as
Okay.
like right now, like are a lot of people still practicing or
Yeah, before I answer that question, I just need to just add something or say something to regards to what you said, right? Talking about standard, how women should raise their standard and how, as regards to what you like and what you want and all of these things. I mean, there's nothing wrong in us having standards. I do believe yes, we should have standard because as black women, our standards are really very low, very very low. That's why our men perhaps they act or do the things that they do. Some of them. Now, but we should definitely be realistic with our issues or with ourselves, right? Because when we are not realistic about our situation, for instance, now a lady who is a little bit who is big have a standard to be with a man who has six packs, and all of these things. And she's not being realistic, about a situation or something like that, And then we have, in most cases, right, we have like really older women who wants to be with really, really younger guys, and then I'm not saying that they're not guys like when it comes to age, because when we say the men are doing it, why can't we do it? But it's to an extent it's not the same with the women. You see, it's not all that the men can get away for some reasons when it comes to that, but for the women, you have to take care of these boys, because obviously you will be the one to take care of them and do all of these things, because they're still not men enough. They can't provide, they can't do any of these things. But when they get what they want, then they will leave, and then you will remain heartbroken and you say, oh, men are this, but you were not realistic with yourself. That's why I say we need to be realistic about certain circumstances and situations that we are in, so that we do not live in this illusion, like we are in a Disney world or something. So we need to be realistic about our situation and about our circumstances, right, that are affecting us or that we are facing at that time, so that we don't lie to ourselves. So to the question that Snuggles he asked, what does polygamy look like in Africa? Well, polygamy, yeah. So there's polygamy in Africa, right? So which has been part of our culture and our tradition. Not all, right? Not all, but it depends. white. But when it comes to, let me use Nigeria now because that's where I'm from. So when it comes to certain parts in Nigeria, right, the polygamy aspect, right, according to tradition, sometimes it is the women that actually go out there to bring in or get married to another woman and bring her to the home. The man seeks for her permission. They actually talk. It's not like the man just up and go and just bring, any woman and bring to the home. No. So the woman actually, make certain or make the decision, and then the man go ahead and bring the woman, and then and the marriage starts. So, but recently or today, it is seen that the man just go out there and pick up any woman, bring her in. It doesn't matter. It doesn't discuss it with the other wife or whatever thing, and he just go ahead with. Meaning, there is a cultural, we've actually lost our culture in that way. Meaning, the women are no longer regarded in that area, like their choice and their decision, their emotions are not put into consideration by the men. And where have we picked this culture from? There is, I don't have no issue with polygamy, absolutely, but it's just that I'm not built for it. So before you get married or before you're going to the continent of Africa and you want to engage with any man, you have to find out if the man is a Muslim or the man is into polygamy. So you want to, if you are ready and you're bid for it, you need to prepare yourself mentally, because there are advantages and disadvantages that comes alongside with polygamy. So people, lots of men, from the diaspora, they tend to, because I've seen, videos when in discussion that they have, they tend to like it a lot, but they don't understand that it's different on the continent of Africa. So when you engage into polygamous marriages or something like that, you should be able to understand what it means. You should be able to understand is the reason why we had that was because for population growth, we had that, for agriculture, we had that for, for a lot of things, right? For some, these are just for some of the reasons I'm just stating. So so that you don't go and then you have issues. Know if the man is into polygamy or not. So that when you go and then you get married and then it's telling you want another wife and then you're upset, you're angry. So it's just to avoid that. So that should not be blamed on cultural clash or cultural clash, right? Is lack of communication, right? Effective communication. So we need to communicate more and make sure like you engage with someone who is effective in their communication so that both of you can understand each other and resolve any issues so you don't have to because some continental African men don't really communicate a lot. They just carry out or they just do certain things through their actions. They just do certain things. So you see, and they don't feel that they should be questioned, because they are the alpha male and they think they are the man. So yeah, so you want to make sure that you do your proper diligence and your homework before you engage in certain things that you feel you want to engage in. So that's my take on that.
What did you think about this question now on the screen? What does it look like when a woman is polygamous, or what do they call that? Polygamy, or polyamorous? Are there
I
any
mean,
are there any countries that practice that?
I think in
I've
West
heard of many
Africa,
indigenous. Yeah, I've heard of many indigenous countries, but not necessarily in Africa.
I think in not West Africa, I think in East Africa, I think in some areas they do practice that. Yeah, that a woman has multiple men, husband or something like that. But in Nigeria, I've not heard about that. So we don't practice that. A woman having multiple husbands. It has always been the other way around. with the help of the woman. Actually, the woman is the one that goes out there to get, to bring the other wives or get married to them, discuss it with the man, give him permission to go ahead and do that. If the woman does not give him permission, he does not go out there and just get any woman and bring her home. So that question, I can't really, talk about that because, I don't really know much about that, but it was, practiced in some areas in Africa. For instance, like East Africa, some tribes, they did practice that, but today, I don't think that is prevalent on the continent of Africa. I do not think so. Thank you.
There we have that. Um, let me. I would love to find out what is your favorite thing because I'm a cook, and so I'm like, let me pry into your. We call it pry into your cupboards a little bit. I love cooking. What are some of your favorite things to cook, sis?
What my favorite thing to cook? I mean, I do love cooking too because I believe in homemade foods, right? Because I think it's more healthier and all of that. So yeah, I do love cooking some Nigerian traditional food. I have also learned how to cook certain intercontinental um, dishes, like some Russian food and other countries as well. So yeah, but my favorite food that I really love to cook is my traditional native food that has to do with soup, like okra soup, egusi soup, afan soup. I mean, there's a lot of soup, right? Native soup, banga soup, bitter leaf soup. All of these kinds of soup, rice and stew, fried rice, and all of those things. And then traditional things that we normally do, like moi moi. It's just like snacks for snacks or something like that. Yeah, is
Honey,
yeah.
you just said the key thing, moi moi. Uh-huh. We got to I got to find out your recipe. I love moi moi. Let me tell you, when I first moved to Atlanta, my sister was she taught alongside a member from Chinua Achebe's family. And so they have a big family here in Atlanta, Georgia, and they were having an anniversary. I think one of his brothers, they were having an anniversary. One of his brothers or one of his nephews, and they had a big anniversary party, and the party started 3 hours late. Now we're gonna talk about that, sis. Why the parties got to start 3 hours late? But the food was unbelievable. I mean, just everything was just incredible. The salads, and I love salads, but when I tell you I had never had a salad like the way, they did salad and they put things that I would have never have put in the salad, they had them in the salad. And so I was like, wow, it's really good. It's very flavorful. But the moi moi was absolutely took the cake. I promise you, I walked in there, just I didn't have a boyfriend or anything. By the time I left that party, I looked about 3 months pregnant. I had so much going on because I consumed so much moi moi. I was waddling out of there, honey. So it is great to know that I'm vibing with a fellow cook because cooking is my love language, definitely. There are some traditional things I would love to get into with learning how to cook before I came over. If there were two dishes you could recommend that, with me seeking a man from the diaspora, what should be those two things I should learn how to make?
A man from the diaspora. Well, I don't know how the men from the diaspora how they cook well, but if they want to learn how to cook, first of all, they should start by boiling white rice. they're able to boil white rice correctly, then yes, we can now move to
You are
what's it
speaking,
called?
you're definitely talking to me because I don't like eating rice, but I need to get a rice cooker because I don't like eating rice. I don't, because it's just like a starch, and my mom, rice was with everything growing up. So in my adult life, my kids, they love it. They love rice, but they have to, you know, they learn how to cook it themselves. But I did see that. I have noticed that from the when I was, I'm from Philadelphia, and the I had an African hair braider, and man, but for some reason the way rice is prepared is not the way I'm used to it tasting. I don't know what y'all are doing to that rice, but it's delicious. It's delicious. It's perfect. It's fluffy. It's a little sticky, but not too sticky. It's never clumpy or mushy. And so with me, I'm always just like, so I do not dismiss what you're saying because I can cook. But what you said is that if you can boil rice right, we can proceed. You're right. That's got to be fundamental because I got to be honest. I can cook. I can really cook, but my rice is very much hit or miss. So that's why I'm going to invest in a rice cooker. That's just the best thing I can do. You know, because with leave it to me, everything is going to be over a bed of greens. I'm going to put it over kale, spinach, just anything is going to be green. But white rice, mm-mm. so getting my rice cooker together is key. And what's something else that you can suggest that I learned how to maneuver with correctly?
Right. Just to add to what you said earlier on, when you were talking about you went for the party and it started 3 hours late, and that. So yeah, I just want to talk a bit about that. When it comes to Africa, right? So they have what is called African time, right? Which I think is not good. It's highly irresponsible on our side or on our part, but Africa is pretty much not like the West, where things are done at a very fast speed rate, and things like that, right? Everything is just like, it's very fast and up and running speed, all of that. So it's a place where it's more relaxed. But customer service is something that if you're planning to invest in Africa, you might want to look in that area, right? Customer service, because, and also time. So you need to reprogram your mind when you're going there. So you need to set the example so that and the standard if you have your business, and make sure you stick to that because time can be very challenging when it comes to some continental Africans, right? I, for once, too, when I was on the continent of Africa, although I do respect time a lot, growing up as a child, that's what I was taught. But although my environment, allows you to go late to certain things and it's okay, you know, you can even lie about telling your friend that I'm coming but you're still at home and the time you were supposed to meet was maybe 1 o'clock and then you're there 3 to 4 hours late. So that can be really common when it comes to continental Africans, right? So that needs to change. We need to learn how to be more honest and about our time, you see. So and be accountable. We need to hold particularly continental Africans accountable when it comes to time. So they should not allow or excuse that because we are talking about accountability here. So if you keep excusing that and say, oh, that's the African way, then things will not get done. So when it comes to time, you should be prepared because you might be upset in dealing with a lot of them on the continent because they might delay you in so many things and a lot of things that you want to do like this just the way you do on Europe and the West, it might not be the same. So you might need patience when dealing with that. So patience is really, really needed. So when going back to the continent of Africa and when you're talking about working in a particular space of time. So that might be challenging. So you want to be clear and communicate properly that when you say this time, make sure it is this time. I do not joke with my time. I do not. You want to make sure you have proper, effective communication and make sure that you set the line and make sure you stand by it. So, so they understand that, that's the situation. Right.
I see we've excited some conversation in regards to this food conversation. It's lunchtime, so people are gearing up. So, Sister Tanjan wants to know: do you all make sweet potato pie or purple yam pie, and what about cakes? Is the culture big on desserts? I got to tell you, I'm not. I'm not. So let me know if do these continental men like desserts, sis? Because I'm not a big baker. My daughter is, but I'm not. I'm a cook, but I'm not a baker.
Yeah, yeah, we do make sweet potatoes pie and what is it called? I don't know about this popoyam pie, but I we do make some pie and cakes, all kinds of cakes, right? Yeah, we do make that on the continent. They have pretty much this. Yeah.
So I guess we're winding down some questions here. I love what Simeon said. First of all, uh, the response was that the time matter needs to be something that is more um, deeply discussed and considered. I think that's appreciated. I will say that to hear someone say that from the culture, it means a lot to me, sis, because like I said, I know, as you said, it could seem like we're rushing, but again, it's a part of our culture that when we say like it was a big shock for me even when I moved to Miami from Philadelphia. um, I was actually written up by a supervisor for too early. The meeting was supposed to start at I think it was like 10 a.m. and I was there at 10:50. I was there at 9:15, and she said that that was inappropriate for me to be there that early. That I was trying to show her up and meet with the person who was conducting the meeting prior to her arriving, which was not my intention, even though it did happen. Um, but she said that had I arrived at a more suitable hour, being 15 minutes prior to the meeting time instead of 45 minutes prior, then it would have been no way for me to meet with the person that we were supposed to be meeting with. And I felt like it was a little bit of ego, a little bit of jealousy, but yeah, I can see how it can work both ways, where if you are super timely, it can come off as almost offensive if that's not your culture. Because like I said, this was me coming down from Philly, and Philly is like New York time. When it's 10 o'clock, if you arrive at 10 o'clock, that means you're 5 minutes late. So the rule of thumb is to be there, about 30 minutes in advance. And that goes hand in hand with public transportation. Either you're going to be an hour early or 10 minutes late. And many people, depending on where you are, they operate on the latter as opposed to the former. They'll rather be a little late than way early. So it's an
Right.
interesting thing, but I do appreciate you saying that and not dismissing it, because I think oftentimes too, just as you said in the top of the conversation, we tend to not have this type of patience to understand and appreciate that just may not be our culture. We come from different spaces and different places, but it's not a disrespect and not to be dismissive, but we need to have more patience and understanding with one another. I appreciate that. um Snuggles has this question. Yes, Snuggles is coming with it. You all make sure you please like this live. Make sure you go and subscribe to Sister's channels. She's always having really great conversations. And just such a beautiful spirit, and not bad to look at all either. I would definitely choose you to be a sister wife. Definitely. Especially if you can cook that
Okay.
moi moi. I'm gonna be like, forget about him, girl. Let's get in that kitchen. Let's get in that kitchen, sis. Um, Snuggle says, "Do blacks like blacks on the continent? How do you think continental Africans feel about Black Americans coming, to the continent? In your opinion?"
In my opinion, I'll speak for myself, because I can speak for all. Um, but from what I have seen, I think they love our people because, except when you say, do blacks like blacks on the continent? So first of all, what is black? Which is what I don't understand, because continental Africans do not understand that thing black, um, because we do not identify ourselves as black. We identify ourselves by our names and from the tribe or country we are from. Not like black, those things, just in the West. It's not really prevalent on the continent of Africa or things like that. So that can be really strange. And let's look at the meaning and the word black. What does it actually mean? So before we use certain terminology and we say certain things, because black, if you look at it, from the old English, dictionary or perspective and meaning, right? Because sometimes the English that we speak is something that we do not really have a clear understanding of what we are saying to each other, because of course it's a foreign language, not a language that was actually enforced on us. Now, black means pale. It is a legal term. It means pale. It means European. It means devoid of color. It means all of these things. And the last I checked, melanated people, they have melanin on them. They are not devoid of color. So when you refer to me as a black person, or we refer to ourselves as black. So what we're actually saying is that we are devoid of color. We are Europeans. We are pale skinned people, or we are pale people, which I don't think that we are any of these things. So that's why we might want to check, the true and the actual meaning of what we are actually using in describing who we are as a people, because that name black is an English word that was actually given again to us, you see, by the Europeans. Now, Africans do love Africans from the diaspora. And of course, Africa too is a Eurocentric construct. But, for the purposes of clarification, I would just say that Africans, love Africans who was born in the diaspora, because we are first family and we understand the history. Not all of us, not, to a certain extent, not everyone on the continent understand the history, because, in our schools in Africa, of course, history is obliterated. Not all, yeah, not in all cases, but and they don't really teach about our history and about our ancient civilization and achievement as Africans. So we tend to learn these things, outside of sometimes outside of Africa, and sometimes when we on our own. So we tend to, because in our curriculum, African history is replaced for Western history. Like for myself, for instance, growing up or when I was in school, I didn't learn about my history, but I learned about the Western and the European history. So I pretty much have understanding about the European and Western history. Didn't used to have understanding about my own history. You see, so I began to learn that on my own and do research on that. So that's what lead me to say that we need to do we need to learn about each other history, for us to have proper understanding of what has happened to us, where we're coming from, our struggles and our challenges. You see, that's why we need to learn about our history and the challenges. I started learning about Black American history. I'm using the term or the word now, Black, simply because it will clarify people to understand better, what I'm saying. So I learned about the Black Wall Street. I learned about the Williams letter. I learned about, I studied the history and I studied the system in America, and I studied about all these things, including in the Caribbean. So I begin to understand our people a more on a higher level, because and not judge, but try to understand and form families and groups and things like that. So you see, this is how, when we are talking about uniting unity, when we are not even having interaction outside of YouTube, then how can we unite if we are not taking the next step to having that small group of communication? How can we unite? We need to start from somewhere. We need to start small. We need to start talking to each other even more, so that we can learn about our differences and how to relate with one another. So that is where we can start developing, because we truly don't respect ourselves as Black people, and we find fault from ourselves, and we really don't love ourselves. So for we to truly understand, love ourselves, and find all this, we need to have more conversation outside the internet. Thank you.
I was just saying agreed. Unfortunately, I was on mute, but definitely agreed. There's just a genuine warmth that I literally feel when I am around melanated people, and I cannot understood. I didn't understand, prior to moving to Miami, when people would say, well, it's different down there because the Jamaicans stay with the Jamaicans, and the Bahamians hang with the Bahamians, and the Haitians hang with the Haitians, and I was just like, we're all from one. What do you mean? You know, they were just like, oh, you'll see when you go down there. And then when I came down again, because my intention was not to isolate, my intention was to enjoy and celebrate all of these cultures. I did not have the same issues that a lot of people had. So much to the fact that people thought, well, I am Bahamian. I'm fourth generation Bahamian. People thought, oh, you must be Jamaican, or you must be African, or you must be this or must be that. Because I had no problem. I come in the door and I'm like, let's party, let's do this, let's build, let's bond. And I just think that more people should absolutely take that approach. That don't go into a situation thinking, oh, they're not gonna like me. You go into the situation thinking, I'm gonna love them. I'm gonna love you regardless, because you're like me, you're one of me. So, as you all know, I'm a mama. It's time for us to me to get my children their lunches together. We are really enjoying the conversation. People are loving it. You all, please know that this is not going to be the last time you see the sis on my channel. I hope to visit hers again. um, but make sure that you are liking, you're commenting, you're sharing, because I tell you, this time has really flown by. An hour was gone before I knew it, and now we're closing in on an hour and a half. I definitely don't want to keep you too long, but I would love to just say that what is if people can only take away two things from this conversation that we've had and the things that we've shared over the past hour and almost a half, sis, what would those things be?
Wow. All right. So those two things will be, first of all, we must start developing what is called self-love, and then respect. Because and these are the things that we think we have for other people than ourselves. So when we start having self-love, self-respect, and we are accountable to one another, we can achieve. The sky is just our limit. Like we can achieve anything that we want. So we should respect each other. We should, start loving ourselves, and we should, definitely hold each other accountable and stop excusing bad behavior, because I don't believe in that. I do believe in holding ourselves, including myself, accountable, you see, because accountability, like I say, is lacking in the Black community, and we need to do better with that, and again, we should stop looking for validation, because everything to make us who we are is right within us, is in us. We have everything to make ourselves great. But first, we need to change our mindset on certain things. We need to learn, we need to unlearn, relearn certain things, just like I am doing, certain things that I was brainwashed with. I am unlearning these things and I'm relearning, you know, um, other things, right? That I was, that I need to know about myself. And again, lastly, what I want to say to melanated people is that please learn about yourself. We don't learn about ourselves. We allow other people to tell us about ourselves. Why? Because we're looking for validation. You know, if someone who doesn't look like me comes here and start talking about melanated people, how beautiful you are, how you invented this, you invented that, how you've done all of this, they will applaud, they will pay attention, they will take it seriously. The effect will be different. But when a melanated person is talking and talking to us, we don't tend to give that attention, that respect, and all those things to us. And people see that. So that's why I say we need to respect ourselves, value ourselves, and love ourselves the more. And let's learn about ourselves, observe one another, have patience for one another, and try to give each other, you know, the chance to to prove ourselves to ourselves. So you see, because we are very too quick to um how do I put it, cut each other off and be done with each other very, very quickly, but we are very patient with other people. So let's practice what we do to other people. At least let's practice it for ourselves, and by ourselves. Then we can change a lot of things that we are actually looking for. I do believe that we have all it takes to make that work, if only we can sit down for a few and for a moment with ourselves and learn about ourselves, then we can change. Then we can start telling our stories by ourselves and not allowing other people to do the talking for us. We have mouth. We are not dummies. We have brains. We are very intellectual people. We are very, very educated. So, but we should not prove to people how educated we are. But we should use our brains to work for ourselves. To do things, and then we should move away from what is called, because the Western system of education is just all about brainwashing us to become employees. So we should learn and teach each other how to be self-sufficient and how to be what entrepreneurs. So we need to start changing the games for ourselves, and we need to be very serious about it because it's very, very important. Thank you so much for having me on the platform. I truly appreciate you. And thank you to the viewers. Thank you so much for a warm welcome. And really, truly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You guys, you know what, sis? I would never get enough of seeing that beautiful smile. It's amazing. I promise you, you light up the entire sky with it. I thank you also for coming here, for glowing up the channel, gracing us with this opportunity, especially to do an AM live because y'all know me. Usually I don't do it. I homeschool the babies, but I definitely wanted to immediately work with sis, and so I said, you know what, let's do it. Let me just move some things around, and I'm so glad I did. This was really fun, and it also gave me a different perspective from the type of audience members that are in an AM live as opposed to a PM one. So I thank you all for being a part of this incredible show this morning into the afternoon. And until next time, y'all know what to do. Glow up.